Greetings. This is the Get To Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhines in Valdosta, Georgia. Today I want to speak with you very briefly concerning the very controversial figure of an individual by the name of Floyd Rose this morning. As I travel across the city of Valdosta, I hear people condemn him. And as you know, he's pastored several churches here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. Today, if you read the Valdosta Daily Times, today being November the 28th, Wednesday, 2018, I don't know of many other ministers here in Valdosta and Lowndes County that write articles such as this concerning the heartbeat of the black community here in Valdosta, Georgia. The Valdosta Daily Times often publish letters to the editor, and I'm touched by the article that is written in the day's paper, and I want to share it with you, and I want to give some highlights concerning what he wrote from his heart to your heart. The title is "We Are Still Standing," and of course you know that he's talking about the black African Americans and white right people, if I may say so. The day has come. Let me read it word for word rather than trying to highlight it. The day has been dark and long, but it is hard and far from over. Difficult, but not over. We have come so far, suffered too long, bled too often, died too young. We cannot give up now. What other pastor in Valdosta? What other lawyer in Valdosta? What other educator in Valdosta? What other civil rights leader in Valdosta and Lowndes County have published such here with the people that's filling the jails and prisons here? Who have ever done this before? And you know he often speaks like this because it's in his heart. He continues to say, we overcame 247 years of brutal slavery, another 100 years of racial segregation and Jim Crow, and we are still here. We survived Newt Gingrich's contract with America, Ronald Reagan attacks on the Panthers, the Night Riders of the Ku Klux Klan, the death of 4 little black girls in that church in Birmingham in 1963, and we are still standing. And is that true or is that false? Yet black people right here in Valdosta are going to criticize him. White folks don't have to criticize him because we have black people here that criticize him. When you look back down the annals of history, you'll see that Jeremiah, Abraham, Adam, Eve, Queen Esther, King Solomon, King David, and continue naming any others that you want to. They all had faults, but yet they did a work for God, and God appreciated the work that they did. But here in Valdosta, we want to criticize the people who are at least saying something. What about those pastors who don't say anything, don't write anything, don't stand up for anything? When you get in trouble, you don't call them, but you call Reverend Rose. You'll call me. And yet, we are the ones that you condemn. And yet, we are still here. And yet, you rise because of people like us. We don't give ourselves the praise. We don't need it. What we try each and every day to do is to shine the light to make Valdosta, Lowndes County, the state of Georgia, America, and the world a better place for all of us. I continue? We survived the murder of the 14-year-old Chicago boy in Money, Mississippi, named Emmett Till. The 381 days Montgomery bus boycott. The hanging of Mac Wayne Parker, and the murder of the civil rights icons Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers was condemned and criticized as well. Why? Not by white folk, but even by simple-minded black folk who just didn't know any better. So we who are in the civil rights struggle, we know what it's like to help an ignorant people. And I do mean ignorant. It's sad that black people who try to help other black folk are denigrated by their fellow black human beings. And many whites who can see the big picture, they even thank God for the blacks who stand up for blacks. But the blacks who can't see, they pity them. How sad. May I continue? We also survived the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4th, 1968, and the rebellion of Watts, Detroit, Chicago, and Newark, New Jersey. Yes, we know how to lose, and lose with dignity. Yes, black folks know how to lose with dignity. You don't see the black man going out getting a .357 Magnum to retaliate against white people for the way they shoot us down in the streets like wild dogs. Why don't we do that? They do it to us. The black man in America do not have the history of denying white people what they have denied us as human beings or as a living source. It's just not in our history, wide scale. We know we had men like Nat Turner and a few others, but I'm talking about in mass numbers. Just go out and slaughter white people because of what they did to us for us to be free. Isn't it beautiful that God inspired civil rights leaders to use the nonviolent approach and to trust in the God of our ancestors who said that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord? Isn't that a beautiful picture to behold and to have as part of your history? Black man, black woman, and black children. May I continue? Yes, we know how to lose, and we know how to lose with dignity. We lost to Bull Connors and his water hoses in Birmingham in 1963. But we won the right to public accommodations all over the South. We lost to Sheriff Jim Clark, billy clubs and cattle prods in Selma, but won the right to vote in 1966. And here in the state of Georgia, we are still fighting. We are still fighting for the right to vote. Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp have fought the black man, woman, and their children. Brian P. Kemp have fought mothers and fathers and others, while we continue to seek justice and to build a better United States of America. And so I want to say to you, when the Quitman 10 over in Quitman, just 18 miles west of Valdosta, when we fought so with the Quitman 10 plus 2 over in Quitman, Secretary of State and his Corps of investigators brought 12 people up on bogus voter fraud charges. And after 4 years, they was acquitted on all 100 to 200 voter fraud charges. Secretary of State Brian P. KEMP fiasco did not stop in Quitman. He moved around to Meigs, Georgia with former Mayor Linda Harris. They removed her from office. Then it moved around to Lumpkin, Georgia, to Camilla, Georgia, Douglas, Georgia, Warrenton, Georgia, Gordon, Georgia, Davisboro, Georgia, Telfair County, Georgia, Sparta and Hancock County, Georgia, Douglas, Georgia with Olivia Coley Pearson, Willacoochee, Georgia, Broxton, Georgia, Homerville, Georgia, and on and on. And so we are used to winning civil rights cases and then have to fight all over again for what the white man and everybody else that come to this country get free. But we should not complain about it because this is in God's plan. And in the end, truth, right, and justice will win. May I continue? You have gotten your unearned tax cut, which provided riches for the wealthy and small breaks for the middle class and nothing for the poor. But in a little while, the ride will be over, and the financial gains that you thought you made, which were not of any real value, will have brought you nothing. I repeat, will have brought you nothing. Again, this is a letter published in the Valdosta Daily Times on November 28th, 2018, by Reverend Floyd E. Rose, to let you know that all ministers, that all pastors, and that all black men have not sold out the black community. Is here as an example to let you know that some of us will stand as our ancient ancestors did, even in the land of Arkebulan, erroneously called Africa. And so we must commend Reverend Floyd E. Rose, faults and all, because if you look back down the annals of history, even Adam had faults, Jeremiah, faults, Abraham, faults, Elijah, faults, Samuel, faults. All men that ever done anything good for God and for mankind had faults, just like Reverend Rose, just like myself, and just like you. Yes, just like you. I will always appreciate the work of a pastor who published as many articles as this black man here in Valdosta. We can't even find a minister, for the most part here in Valdosta, that will send a letter to the editor twice in 2 years, addressing the heartbeat issues of what's going on in this hellhole of Valdosta that you all talk about behind closed doors. But you won't say it publicly. But Reverend Floyd Rose and a few others will. I want to thank God for men such as Reverend Rose, as seen through my eyes, as well as the father of KJ and Jacqueline for standing up. Not only for KJ that died, was found dead in the Lowndes County High School, but they are now standing up that all of your children can be safe at Lowndes County High School. And we got people here that won't even stand up with them. May I continue, please? So you say you want to make America great again. when was America great? When was it great? When was America greater than it was when it elected the first black president, President Barack Hussein Obama? When was America greater than when they elected the first black president? More Americans received health care without preconditions. We became a more inclusive nation than ever before. And yet they say, make America great again. You know, black people wonder, what do they really mean? We just had a lady, Miss Heidi, elected Miss Smith in Mississippi. And she talked about lynching blacks and being there to a public lynching. She's only saying to black people and to white people that we don't want blacks to move forward. We want Mississippi to go backwards. We don't want equality and justice for all Americans. We want blacks to fight the wars of this nation. We want them to die in the Revolutionary War, like Crispus Attucks, the first man that died there during American Revolutionary War. But we don't want them to enjoy the benefits as white people. What a disgrace before God and the world. And white people and some black people elected a woman to the Senate in the state of Mississippi. And Mississippi has a record that has been documented. But yet, they voted someone in that talking about going to public lynchings. That lets you know that the things that your grandmama told you about white folk is still in the hearts of white folk. And you black people who down black people, who stand up for black people, who stand up for Japanese and Germans and white people, and you still turn thumbs down for the people who love you enough to give you the truth. And I say to you, you're a disgrace to your parents and to your own family when you fail to stand up for what is right and just for all of God's children. And so when you find a pastor here in Valdosta, in New York, in Florida, or out in Washington, or South Carolina, if he don't stand up and you sit under him, you give him your tithe money, you give him your offering money, and he won't stand up for you when they get beat up by the police, they call people like civil rights leaders, pastors who are not afraid, pastors who understand how important it is to stand up for black children who have been beat down by wicked white folk. And I want you to know that all white people are not wicked. I've often said it, and I continue to say it. There are white folks who fought for me as a black person before I knew what the fight was all about. And I thank God for those white right people. I want to thank the white founding fathers that set up this nation. Although I might not approve the way it was set up, the Bible says everything worked for the good of those who love the Lord and called to his purpose, do his purpose. And so what can I do but say, Lord, I thank you. So now what can I do to help build a better America? May I continue, please? We are proud of Barack, Michelle, and their two daughters, and without bringing shame to us or to our nation. Let me repeat what Reverend Rose said. We are proud of President Barack Obama, Michelle, the First Lady, and their 2 daughters, and without bringing shame to us or to this nation. When Donald Trump and his rich Republican friends are losing ground, that's what they're doing, losing ground. So let me give it to you straight. He said when their friends are long gone and his rallies are over and the chants have all died out, we will still be here for this race that we call justice. This race is not to the swift or to the strong, but to the ones who endure until the end. It's not how fast you get in your pulpit and claim to be a pastor. It's not how fast you get up and speak eloquent sermons on Sunday. But it's the pastor who is in it for the long haul. It's to the pastor who stay focused on the founding fathers' issue of equal rights, equal justice under the law. How to hold on to letting go. We know how to hold on by letting go, to receive by giving, to increase by diminishing, multiplying by dividing, and live by dying. If Reverend Rose or myself, much like the freedom fighters of yesterday, if we were over concerned about dying, or living, if we were overly concerned and focused on living and not willing to die for the cause of what is right in the eyes of our God, we would have never stepped out on a journey such as this. Never. Dr. King was not an idiot. I'm asking you to please understand that John Brown was a white man. He was an abolitionist, and he was willing to die for the cause of justice. He was willing to die for the cause of building a better America and ensuring that America would stand up to their own creed. And so this is why we cannot sit back and just down white people. John Brown was not the only one. There are so many white people that had the touch of the God of our ancestors. And this is why I say to black people, don't hate on anybody, but in all things give thanks. Give thanks to the righteous and holy God of creation. And if you don't believe in God, that's okay too, because karma will get you. Just reaping what you have sown will come to you. And you may get away in this life with whatever wicked and ungodly acts you do against your fellow man. You may die, and you never reap your punishment. But according to the God of our ancestors, it will fall upon your children, your grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. But somebody will pay. And that's why you don't have to worry about getting back at the white man, or getting back at the Japanese man, the Russian man, the German man, the Asian man, the Latino man, or your fellow man. God gonna take care of all of that. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but God gonna take care of that. You know, I remember the day as a child. My grandmother would talk to me about the atrocities that white folk thrust upon black folk 18 miles away over there in Brooks County, little town in Quitman, and the surrounding towns, Bonnie, Groovesville, and Barwick, and how they lynched blacks. There wasn't nothing written in the books, but it went from mouth to mouth. They couldn't even talk about it because they would be killed. But they passed it on to us and told us, if you don't get justice in the courts, don't worry about it, because God got it in his hand. So my grandmother taught us that you cannot fight wicked people with the gun. You cannot get revenge with the gun from wicked people, black or white. It takes God to stricken them with sicknesses, stricken them to let everything they have fall from them, to watch their own children disintegrate before their faces. God will do that in due time. Those who murdered black children in the days of bygone years, those who think they get away with murder even today and mistreat black and white people and others, and they think they get away. My grandmother told us, and black people in general, don't you do to them what they do to you, for God got their numbers. And no one escaped the wrath of Almighty God. And so that's about the only true law enforcement officer we have. That's about the only real Supreme Court justice judge that we have. So when wicked judges pass sentence on your children, they don't understand that they are passing wicked sentences on themselves and their own children and coming generations. They don't know it. They're ignorant to that. When black folk sit in the office of a judge and don't be just in the execution of the powers that's in their hands justly, they will pay for what they do. That's why you don't have to fight a judge. You don't have to fight these wicked police officers. Yes, we're going to fight in the courts. But if there is no justice in the courts, God say, I got it. And God don't work fast. That's one thing about the God of our ancestors. He take his own time. But he declared that heaven and earth will pass away, but my word would stand forever. And he said to the wicked preachers, the wicked pastors, the wicked imams, the wicked rabbis, the wicked sheikhs and others who profess to know Allah, Jehovah, or Jah, or Jesus, or Muhammad, or some of the other 400 and some names that I have record of in the living room there, that God has called. You don't get away from him. You don't get away from him. And so I want to say again, when I saw this in the paper this morning, I was having a cup of coffee. I knew that some people read this paper and they said, there go Rose again, bringing up the past and bringing up the race issue. Reverend Rose did not bring up the race issue. The race issue was here before Reverend Rose, myself, or my grandmother, or anyone else was here in Georgia. the race issue is an ancient issue. And I want to say to you, we as black Americans, and we as white, and you who are white right Americans, we had better stand up. I'm going to say again as I close. You who think that this is just about oppressing black people, you got another thing coming. First, it may be the black man. But tomorrow, it's going to be every man in the land. When you look around, they're going to have taken away white people's right to vote. They're going to take away the white freedom of the press. White people now in the newspaper, they think they're doing something because they're in power and they can ignore the news in the black community. They think they're doing something. They really do. White TV owners, they think they are doing something when they ignore the news in the black community. And when they are biased and won't even cover the black news, like they ignored the Quitman 10+2, like they ignored Linda Harris, like they ignored the mayor in Camilla, like they ignored the mayor in Lumpkin, like they ignored the mayor in Douglas, like they ignored the mayor in Warrenton, Georgia, like they ignored Mary Ann Whippaloo and had the Wilson County Post to lie on her, just like the Thomasville Times lied on Linda Harris, who's on the screen there now. I mean, they lied outright on her, man. The public defender didn't even call not one person to testify on her behalf. I was there. I got it recorded. And they think they're getting away with that. White people and Uncle Tom Negroes, they think they're getting away with that. They don't know they're just falling right into the hand of Satan. And God is watching them. And they're going to pay for what they have done. That district attorney, I'm sure, over in Thomas County, and that public defender, I bet they think they got away. But oh man, God gonna get them, brother. I guarantee you, God will get them. Galatians 6 and 7, for those who believe in the power of the living God. He said that God is not mocked. For whatsoever man sow, that shall he also reap. That's why you don't have to do nothing. Just speak the truth. And God said he would fight your battle. I didn't say that. I don't stand on that for me. But as Moses stood before Pharaoh and told Pharaoh, my God said, let my people go. Pharaoh said, you go to hell. You go to hell, man. Don't you understand, Moses, that I'm in possession of the newspaper? I write any damn thing I want. I publish anything on TV I want. Moses, don't you understand that, Moses? And you think I'm going to let the children of Israel go? Give up my banking account? You must be crazy, Moses. This is what the scribes of this dispensation are saying to God's people today when we say to them, why don't you publish the black news? Why don't you publish the truth about the Kendrick Johnson case? They think they're in power. They think they control everything. Pharaoh also thought he controlled everything. And let me squeeze in something that most of your preachers and your rabbis, they don't tell you about, but I'm going to tell you this morning. When Moses went before God, you see, I hear people today, they criticize Pharaoh. Yeah. Let me say something about Pharaoh. I could talk about Judas as well. Pharaoh was not that bad. No. Somebody just disapprove me if you can. After I make this statement, I want you to disapprove what I'm about to say. You see, the white man is not really that bad. The white man is not really as evil as he think he is. The black man who speak out against Reverend Rose and Dr. King and others who stand up like that, them black folk don't really mean you no harm. You see? So don't you condemn them no more than you would try to condemn Pharaoh. When you hear a black man speaking out against another black man who's trying to help them, their children, the coming generation, y'all call them Uncle Tom and Aunt Jane, don't speak too ill of them. Just like you should not speak that ill of Pharaoh nor Judas. Me, God have blessed me, or Satan have cursed me to make this statement. God was in control then, and God is in control now. So I want to thank Pharaoh for allowing God to use him. God used Pharaoh to bring about his divine purpose. So if you read your scriptures, I know nobody preached and told you about it, but it was God who hardened the heart of Pharaoh. Let me say it again. It was God who hardened the heart of Pharaoh. You got to understand that. So these black folk who criticize black folk, they're trying to help them and trying to build a better America and to truly make America great again, but they are fighting against the American people. Just understand that God is using wicked white people to get his mission accomplished. Always remember that. And once you begin to understand that, and when you are willing to die for what God has laid out so clearly before you, that this is his plan, this is his purpose, this is his war, this is his battlefield, and he gonna win in the end. People must die. People must die. People will be maimed. People will lose their wealth. People will lose their status. People will lose family members. But in the end, God will win. And God has all power in his hand. I hear people talk about they hate Judas Iscariot. How can you hate Judas Iscariot when he was born the son of perdition? Judas Iscariot had to come. God used Iscariot to fulfill his divine plan to do what he was going to do anyway. There's no need to get all upset about that. When I look at the KJ family, how they are standing up, and knowing that that boy did not die from an accident, God is using people who know the truth to hide the truth, because God is going to work in mysterious ways. Oh, you haven't seen nothing yet. As it was in the days of old, Jesus said, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Somebody should say amen. When you see in the KJ case that the police and the coroner does not secure the crime scene, and nobody, the Valdosta Daily Times, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, nobody asked a question. Who was punished? Who was counseled? Who was reprimanded? Who was fired? Who received corrective training so the next time your child die, or your mother die, or your neighbor perish, that they will know how to secure the crime scene? You don't care about that. If the videotapes was altered, if somebody cut the camera off If somebody took his heart, his lungs, his kidneys, all of his major organs out, who did it? Valdosta Daily Times, CNN, who did it? Do you care? Because next time, it could be a member of your staff. It could be the editor of the Valdosta Daily Times or the editor of ABC, CBS, NBC, Nightline, Dateline, or Michael Moore of the federal government. So if you let them get away by doing this, Galatians 6 and 7 says, God is not mocked. For whatsoever man sow, that shall he also reap. So next time, it could be your child, your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, but you didn't care about what happened to your neighbor. So this is the world that you are setting up. And you're setting it up to be a failure. You're setting it up to be a disgrace before the world. I thank God for Coroner Watson for allowing God to use him. I thank Sheriff Prine for allowing God to use him. I want to thank God for Wes Taylor, the school superintendent, and that all-white Board of Education. God is using them in the same manner he used Pharaoh in the days of old. The same way he used others to get his message across. They don't know it yet, because they don't fear the truth of the historic God of creation. But somebody gonna acknowledge before it's all over. When I had an opportunity to say something, I said nothing. But now, my son is the KJ. My daughter is the KJ. Then what you gonna say? When these white women's son die, and they gonna look for some justice, and they're gonna say, shh. Oh, no. Oh. Then what you gonna say? When these white women's son die, and they gonna look for some justice, and they're gonna say, shh. Oh, no. Oh. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. And this is why my grandmother taught me to trust in God and put your trust in no man, black or white, Jew or Gentile, Protestant or Catholic, preacher or no preacher, imam or no imam, rabbi or no rabbi. Put your faith only in God. And in the final analysis, though we suffer and though we die, by the blood of the Lamb, we shall overcome. And he said, wherever I find you, I will appoint your portion based upon the life that you have lived before God and man. And so you who removed Kendrick Johnson body parts, because you're in control today, but you're not in control tomorrow. And somewhere I read that the wages of sin is death. That the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. Another place it is written, for I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. And in this country, and in Christendom, somebody have lied to you and think you just can ask for forgiveness and you be forgiven. and you go on into heaven in the hereafter. Not so. You're going to pay for the wrong that you've done. You're going to pay for knowing the truth, but you rather sit on a lie. And that's going to be passed on to your children. Sometimes you escape. God allow you to escape the punishment so he can get to your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But he declared in the volume of sacred law, you will not get away. And that's what my grandmama taught me. I've been lied on. I'm under 5-year criminal trespass, and I violated no law. And if you notice me, I'm not calling the wicked people out who did it to me. I'm pointing them out, but you don't see me lying on them like they lied on me. Why do I do that? Because I know that I'm innocent. And I know that God's going to punish them. So I pray for them out of great love. I really do. I pray, I say, God, don't make their punishment be too hard. Lord, lighten up on their children. Lighten up on their grandchildren. Because I know that God's going to get them. I know that. I know I may not live to see it. And not supposed to. Don't even want to. I'm asking God to forgive them. But God's not going to forgive them. They got to come clean. Jesus said, repent. Repent. Acknowledge your wrong. And come clean. And that's what the wicked are not willing to do. And that's why they're going to get exactly what God ordained for them. And many of them think that they've gotten away. And the moment you think you've gotten away from God, then God going to make himself known to you. I've been saying to you for a long time, what you have to acknowledge in this world is where man leaves off and where God takes over. You see, it's beyond me. It's in the hand of God. I'm content. I had attorneys. I know you all don't believe me, and you don't have to. If you understand the core of me, you would understand me better. Yes, I had a lawyer in Macon who wanted to take my case. The criminal trespass, you see. Yes, I did. I had some lawyer right here say, I can't take it because this place is too wicked. I'm talking about attorney right here. Say the judges are corrupt. You don't hear me talk about that much. Because I want God to do his thing. And when God do his thing, he pulling the wolves off a lot of them. Yeah, God gonna bust it all down. He gonna show you, God gonna take you up to the Wizard of Oz, and he gonna snatch the curtain down. And God gonna show you all these naked people masquerading as honorable judges and honorable news media editors who refuse to even publish a criminal trespass on George Boston Rhymes. You see. And I thank God that they rejected to publish my criminal trespass to the world. You know why? You know why I'm happy about it? You know why I'm happy about it? Because the Bible says that Jesus came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God. So I understand why they rejected me. Because they didn't reject me first. They rejected Jesus. And if they reject the Son of God, truly they're going to reject me. They're not going to tell my story. Because they are enemies to the truth. But there's one thing about it. They cannot escape the one who came and said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Have a nice day. And as I said, the people who come to the black community and write for the good to let the people know that God brought us through a lot. And he is not going to leave us now. If you remember, if you go back and think about it, the old spirituals from the days of slavery used to be, God didn't bring us thus far to leave us now. We had hope. And we could sing about when the saints go marching in. We could sing about his eyes is on the sparrow. We could sing these old black gospels. Give us hope when we were being lynched from trees. And we still had the holy beads of righteousness. They thought it was a rope. But it was holy beads in the eyes of our God, saying trouble don't last always. If they would only understand that, America would be a better America. Well, I'm going to ask you all today to think about the Kendrick Johnson mother and father and the family as they seek justice for their child. But they are also standing up for your children still attending the school at Lowndes County High School. For all of the elected officials that have been mistreated under Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp. We know that he was elected governor of the state of Georgia. And I know he thinks that he too has gotten away. But you will be able to see the conclusion of the matter before these days are over. God declared that heaven and earth would pass away, but my word would stand forever. In this video right here, we had a meeting in Macon, Georgia. Warrenton Mayor George Ivey, Gordon Mayor Marianne Whippaloo, former Mayor Linda Harris. On the other end is former Mayor Charles James Brown III. They all came together in Macon, Georgia to shine the light on what they are doing to black elected officials. And the chair of the Democratic Party, DuBose Porter, didn't come once to hear the cries of these 6 mayors here. But there's 25 to 30 that I have record of. The Democratic Party did not come. Your civil rights leaders didn't come. But I told them, and I'm going to continue to say, God is on their side. Stacey Abrams didn't win the gubernatorial race for Georgia. But God is yet in control, keeping watch over his own. And so I'm going to say to you, may God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. The video was a little long. I don't cut short videos. I cut videos to educate, to inform, and to make you better. I don't get paid for these videos. I don't hardly even get a thank you from the black community. Don't get thank you from a white community. Oh, I have a few people tell me thank you. But it don't really matter. I talk about families that was killed in the Lowndes County Jail for whatever reason. I ain't saying it was the sheriff department's fault. But it should at least be published in the newspapers. But see, you don't care. But time your son or daughter or dad or mom is found dead, you go calling us. Or he get beat up on the street. You come calling us. And we look into it. And just like you criticize Rose, they criticize us for telling the truth about your child. But you don't give a damn. And we don't dislike you. We don't treat you like you treat us. Black or white. Reverend Rose wrote a letter a few months ago on behalf of a white guy who got his arm twisted or broken the other day by a sheriff department deputy. Yeah. So, but you don't know nothing about that. That's not news to the news media. We know about it. We don't publish it all over the paper because we know that in the end, truth, right, and justice is going to win. And we know that that same deputy that did that man wrong, when he look around, either him, his children, or his grandchildren are going to pay for that. You just don't get away in this world, man. Some people have strokes, their mouth twisted, don't know why. Some people's children fall out the steps and maim for life. We don't know why. I choose to walk the righteous path. I don't have to strike out at you like you have struck out at me. And I'm retired military in 21 years. And they did this to me in the military. There's so much I could talk to you about that I went through in the military. But I just let all that go because the reason I don't have to fight like that and to treat other people the way they treat me, and I don't even talk about it. One day I may talk about when I was in the military, what they did to me. I'm talking about white folk and black folk. I'm talking about high-ranking officers, what they did to me. Yeah, I can talk about that, but maybe later. That's not my major concern. I pray for them, ask God to make their punishment be easy on them. That's my prayer. I ask God that he don't punish their children too harshly. That's my prayer. I know y'all don't believe me. My grandmama prayed that same prayer for white folk back in the day. I remember her. She would pray for them wicked white folk. My grandmama prayed for them white folk that mistreated black people back in the day. And when Eliza Bryant died over in Quitman, there was white people who came to her funeral. Sure did. Not out of hate, but because they knew who she was. They knew what she stood up for. They knew how they had mistreated black people and even her husband when it come down to loans. But when she died, they had good things to say about her. But the question is, did they get away for what they did wrong? Y'all have a nice day. May God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. And I want you all to understand this in closing. I do not criticize the Valdosta Daily Times editor. I do not, for not doing a interview on me about this criminal trespass. Let the record reflect. I do not criticize CBS for not interviewing me, or ABC, or Fox, or WALB out of Albany. I don't criticize them white news agencies for not publishing news about an innocent retired military veteran that served during the Vietnam era. I don't blame them. I know what it is. God is using you. So don't think I'm mad with you. If I was mad with you, I would tell you I'm mad with you. I just thank God. Because God is using you as he used Pharaoh in the days of old. So just let God continue using you. But it's going to come to a point when you're going to wish that you would have made the right decision. Because God can use you. But sometimes you got to understand that too often, if you wait around for God payment, the question is, can you take it? Can your children bear it? What will it be? I ask God blessing on you for not trying to live up to the founding fathers of the great republic that we live in. In the end, truth, right, and justice will win. Or I may not be around to see it. Don't know if I want to be around to see it. You know, death is not a bad thing. Death is a part of life. And nobody get out of here without going through it. It is appointed unto man once to die. And after that, the judgment. May God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. I stood with equipment 10+2, and I stood with these black mayors across the state of Georgia. I talked about the wickedness of Brian P. Kemp and his lead investigator that went to Valdosta and terrorized those people over there, only to find them not guilty after 4 years. Some of them was moved from office. One of them died. Latasha Head died from the stress and the pressure. And you think God is not going to pay somebody for what they did to these innocent people? For what they did to Olivia Coley Pearson, the commissioner over there in Douglas, Judge Andrew Spivey and Sansock tried to prosecute her. Do you think that is right for God to allow them to get away? Trying to prosecute an innocent lady and 4 others that plea bargained out when they had done nothing wrong. 2 of them was white Democrats. I know about that. But do you know about it? You see. And I just thank God. I thank God for being the one that he decided to put this pain upon, to suffer. That's why he said, if you suffer with me, you can reign with him. I can't understand how preachers and religious leaders can expect to go home and be at peace with God, and they are not willing to suffer with the Jesus that I know about. Not willing to suffer with the David that I knew about. Not willing to suffer like the Daniel that I knew about. Not willing to suffer with the Hebrew boys that I know about. Not willing to be ridiculed like Ezekiel that walked down into a valley of dry bones and spoke to bones while people laughing at him. Like Jonah, who got on a ship going in the opposite direction from God, and hear people talk about him like a dog, but he knew that in the end God was going to win, because can't nobody stop God plan. That's right. So I thank God. I thank God for this mayor, Mayor Ann Whippaloo, for them white folk, for what they put on her. Took her to court I don't know how many times. She can't help it. God allowed her to go through the punishment of them white folk, and she wasn't reelected because the news media up there worked against her election. Listen what she said a few minutes.
For accountability of the monies. And just as Mayor Harris has stated, that without an accurate account of the monies, you don't know what you have to work with. And that's where we are.
And that's likewise, again, we are on that same boat and on that same horse, riding there. I do not know, and I'm asking my counsel to work with me. I'm asking them for my first issue with there. The word was that Mayor Adams want to get rid of everyone.
You know what he said? They accused him of wanting to get rid of everybody and replace them with blacks. They say he was trying to get money, take money. This mayor, Mayor Ann Whippaloo, was wanted to account for taxpayers' money. When she got in office, that's what she wanted. She wanted a forensic audit. There had not been an audit in over 130 years. There have never been an audit. The finance chair said it was $2.5 million that he could not account for, and he was the finance chair. Warrenton mayor, same thing. It's about the money. Mayor Linda Harris, it was about the money. In fact, the mayor before her was indicted for taking money. But don't nobody in Georgia care about that. The taxpayers don't even care. The news media won't talk about the money. It's like those white people that have been in a clique and among the slicks for all these decades, and they've been taking taxpayers' money and not accounting for it. And GMA in Georgia, the Georgia Municipal Association, and these auditors who do yearly audits, who seem like they are part of the clique and among the slicks. These cities need forensic audits so they can dig deep in the books and find out where these taxpayers' money going. And so when black folk come on the scene, they don't want the black folk to take the money like white folks been taking it. So what do? They drive them out of office. They call them a racist. They say you're trying to remove whites out and put blacks in. Have you noticed what they've done over in Equipment already with Nancy Denner, the mayor over there? That is not nothing new to us. Who know? And we who've had a freedom of the press to tell the story, we are not to suppress the truth. We are to publish the truth. We don't have a newspaper in Georgia that will do it. Atlanta Journal-Constitution won't do it. We send all this stuff to all these news media agents in the state of Georgia, all the way up to Eric Holt's Department of Justice. You think they'll do anything? I'm telling y'all, Satan is doing his thing. And when these people understand how they have destroyed this country, it's going to be too late. They're going to want to change then, but it's going to be too late. Satan going to have 13 horns on his head, and you won't be able to stop because you empowered him to do to white people what you thought they were only doing to black people. What you going to do then when they stick all 13 of them horns in your children, and then you ask for an autopsy, and they don't give your child a proper autopsy? Then you look around and you say, where's my son's eyes? They got him and gone. Where's my son's heart? They got it and gone. Where's my daughter's kidneys? They got him and gone. Where's his lungs? They got him and gone. And nobody cares. The people that know won't say nothing. Satan, the forces of evil and wickedness. The Bible told us these days was coming. The preacher talking about heaven in the church and getting you saved. But before you get to heaven, my bishop taught me, you got to live right here on this earth. You got to live right here. And Jesus came to make it better for us right here on this earth. I wish y'all, I had another hour. Sorry for the length of the program. Peace be unto you. I speak like this because I love my children. I love my grandchildren. I love my great-grands. Oh, you may not think so because of the way I act, but it's not about acting, it's about being. It's about being. And I love your children as well, black or white, German, Japanese, Asian, Christian, Muslim, Jew, Hindu, Buddha, other. I love all of you. I don't just try to help black folk because I know that's a losing battle. Y'all have a nice day. I'm going to let them close it out. And I'm going to say y'all have a nice day. Peace be unto you.
Trying to get here. Not once I let someone left because they know their job, but they're not doing their job. And my whole thing is that to move the city forward, I need someone that's going to be working with me, not hiding paperwork, not telling me what's going on. I want you to be accountable for what's going on in the city.
So were the previous mayors subjected to the same rules or the same treatment?
My response to that question would be no, because as a matter of fact, my council members, and not only council members, even staff came and stated to me that the previous mayor had told them, the chief of police and the city clerk had told me that the mayor told them that he could fire them even up until a minute before my being sworn in, that he had the kind of power to remove them. And I tried to assure them that I don't micromanage, and let's come in and let's work together. And so since that, they've been doing just the opposite. They've come in and presented nothing but opposition. The clerk, I don't have the police protection. Right now, I'm in fear of my life.
And I've experienced similar issues as Mayor Ivy. I was told that they heard that I was going to fire everybody, but actually they didn't give me a chance to fire them, terminate them, because they resigned. But, and even with that, some of the people resigned, turn around and sued the city because I terminated them. And no fear on that.
Excuse me, Mayor. Why are you scared for your life?
I think Mayor Ruppel was
Because of the accusations that's been, the statements that have been made. Number one, I was told all we black folks are good for is creating trouble. I've had my car scratched, and now the clerk came in just this past Friday and stated to me, and if I didn't know any better, she is running the city. They directing me that I will sit in a certain seat and sign a check. And I will sit there and she will observe me doing it. So what I did was nicely asked her for the checks and went to my office and signed the checks. And with the chief of police following her, and I said, excuse me, you all you're given an excuse to leave my office. And they both stood there and said they were not going anywhere. And didn't leave. So totally insubordinate, totally disrespectful. I've got the concerned citizens who are outrageously acting inappropriate. They're going around making statements to
find more about this situation, Google Gordon, Georgia. Google Gordon, Georgia, Boston,
Now,
G.B.R.
we
on
know that you
YouTube,
went to the Supreme
and get the
Court
rest of the
Georgia
story. Once again, I'm to get to Free Press on George Boston Ryans and to hear the conclusion of what these black elected officials went through. Google
and see it for yourself. The date is January 20th.
Just Google Boston G.B.R. on YouTube and get the rest of the story. I have published it. The white-owned, white-dominated, white-controlled news media, they wouldn't report it. I did it because I love you just that much.